I'm grateful for one other thing. By the time they were my age, my parents and my grandparents had lost everything they had. Their country, their home, their property. They'd been forced to start again in a foreign land and a foreign language. We live here in peace, and we don't stay up at night fearing we will be woken by a knock on the door. We don't fear our children will be sent to fight in a faraway war. We don't fear arrest or exile. So here's to the Sunrise Cafe in North Harrow and the Tube Station and Brent Cross Shopping Centre and the local dry cleaners. Here's to all of us who love this country and its small ideas and don't want it swept away in a fit of popular enthusiasm or revolutionary zeal. Here's to the places that took in my family and yours. Here's to the suburbs and all of you who live in them. I don't think if I was having this birthday party now that I'd make the same speech. It's not that I believe that we're on the verge of social collapse, but the last decade, uncomfortable as it is to admit, has dented my confidence. There are too many places in the world where such a collapse has already happened, and too many people who've been its victims. Something about the confidence I showed that night seems to me like smugness now. The idea that the value of liberal democracy and law and liberty and tolerance is a lesson that has been learned and can't be unlearned seems hopelessly over-optimistic. What happened to my parents isn't about to happen to me. It isn't about to happen to my children. But could it? It could. Absolutely it could. So I think it's time that I told the story of my mum and dad and their parents to describe what happened to them, why it happened, and why it matters. My parents, Miriam and Ludwig, didn't wallow in their experiences, but nor were they secretive about them. I could ask them whatever I liked, and I did. At the same time, my mother in particular took the view that she had suffered, so we didn't have to. Shortly before Mum died, a book was published called Survivor, which features pictures by the photographer Harry Borden of people who'd lived through the Holocaust. The pictures are accompanied by short handwritten notes by the portrait subjects. One of the photographs is of my mother standing at the door of our dining room. The note on the opposite page in Mum's big neat lettering reads, "I think of myself as a person, a wife and mother first, and a survivor last." And she was true to this, always remaining on top of what had happened rather than letting what had happened get on top of her. When, in 1985, Ronald Reagan planned a presidential visit to the Bitburg Cemetery in West Germany, a controversy arose because SS officers were buried there. Sitting in my bedroom, I heard on the radio that it had been decided that Reagan would deal with the fuss by also visiting the site where the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp had been. I went downstairs to the kitchen where Mum was doing some washing up. Excitedly, I told her, "Mum, President Reagan's going to Belsen." Without turning round, she calmly replied, "So what? I've been." My father was also capable of gentle humour about what he had suffered, so much so that occasionally I mistook his jokes for reality. Had he and my grandmother really bribed a Soviet train guard with a bottle of scent called the breath of Stalin? In the stories they told us when we were young, their Russian captors were always portrayed as bungling bureaucrats and fools, unable to cope with my grandmother's defiance. Is that truly what happened? My parents' approach meant that little about their stories was withheld from me. But it did still leave a mystery of its own. Why were they like this? How had they managed to emerge from such trauma and be so normal? Why weren't they angrier, more hostile? When my father, lecturing in East Germany, was told it was election day, how could he smile and reply, "If it's all right with you, I won't stay up for the results"? Why did they bring their children up like they did? I'm only just beginning to understand this as an adult would understand it. Because when you're young, you don't ask all that many questions about your parents. They just are. I see entirely why my sister had been startled to hear someone describing the way our mother talked as being in some way foreign. The slight note of Dutch, or was it German, in her perfect English, that sort of gentle intonation, wasn't that just the way Mums spoke? And yes, my father could be a little formal. He'd wear a jacket at the weekend and straighten his tie to answer the telephone. When on holiday in the United States with my uncle, who lived there, they all agreed to eat in a Denny's roadside diner. My uncle, wearing fairly casual clothes.